Waiting. I don't see Gabriel. Is Gabriel on yet? Yep, there he is. There he is. Thank you. I see quite a few UTV businesses. I see Scott, Kent, Mark, Jennifer, and I'm not sure who 1719-205-2565, but it is 3 o'clock. Hi, Jason. It is 3 o'clock, so I'm going to begin this special meeting of the Grand County Commission. The date is Monday, April 13th at 3:01. We will begin this meeting. The meeting is designed to help the Commission understand the concerns and points of view of our business people in the community that deal with UTVs and ATVs. I have a facilitator. I'm very excited. His name is Wade Freeman. He is a professor in the Recreation Resource Management Program at Utah State University. Professor Friedman has conducted numerous studies for National Park Services, associations with visitors experience, and research protection programs, and has a continued interest in understanding and monitoring the use of national parks and their systems of use. Being based in Moab, he is strategically placed for leading research, building relationships with professional communities, and ensuring research results are distributed in southeastern Utah. Prior to taking his professorship at Utah State University, he was professor and chair for the Parks, Recreation, Tourism Management at Clemson University and Arkwright Professor of Protected Area Management at the University of Montana. Throughout his career, he has observed a number of recreation-related conflicts, often associated with rapid change to use systems. Those include mountain biking, llama use, snowboarding, tubing, jet skis, and snowmobiles. Oftentimes, these conflicts are asymmetrical, meaning one side does not realize the impact of to the other side. While at Montana, he conducted several studies of snowmobiles and facilitated meetings relating to winter use management in Yellowstone National Park between 1996 and 2012. He lives in Moab, Utah with his wife, Tammy. Thank you, Wayne, for being willing to facilitate this meeting. At this point, I am going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And thanks everybody for letting me join this conversation today. I'm new in Moab. I don't have a dog in this hunt. Mary called last Friday and asked if I could just, step in and try to facilitate this conversation. And so here we are. I would like to just make sure you understand what I understand this meeting to be. And the idea is to have a constructive conversation and gain an understanding of ATV business owners' perspectives on these new sound ordinances and related policies for Grand County. And the results of this meeting will feed into a workshop that the county commissioners are going to have in the near future to kind of look at these proposed changes. The purpose today is just to collect information, to try to make sure your issues are voiced and understood, but it's not to try to resolve and fix everything. That's probably going to take a while. It does sound to me like there's some opportunities to work together on some of these issues in the future. And so I don't know that it's all a done deal, and I think it's worth your time to make sure you get your thoughts in there. Before we get started, just a few things, and we're starting to get used to this Zoom world in academia, and I'm sure you're on plenty of Zoom meetings also. But just a few things, if you don't mind, if you can put your camera on, I'd appreciate it. It's just easier for me as a facilitator to see who's there and what you're doing, and whether you're shaking your head yes or no, or turning red or smiling or whatever. And then the other thing is we'll probably keep the mics muted most of the time so that we don't talk over each other, which is very kind of disjointed in the Zoom world. So if you want to pitch in, you just raise your hand. You can either do that in the reactions place of your screen like this, where you put a little hand up, or just raise your hand and we'll get your thoughts in there. I want to introduce Irie Wheeler, who's here. Irie is a PhD student at Utah State, studying recreation resource management. She has a lot of history of working with outfitters and guides, as I have done some in the past as well. And Irie's just going to help me. She's going to keep track of the chat and keep track of hand waves and that sort of thing. So get Irie's attention if I'm too busy talking to somebody and don't see what you want. Okay. So the way I thought we would do this is we'll introduce, we have 4 topics that Mary gave me to consider. One has to do with trailering shuttle as a business, as a business approach, similar to bike shuttling, what would work, what wouldn't work, why not. The commission also had a question about how often renters are using UTVs overnight or renting them overnight. And then we have 2 about caps. So one is what are the kind of primary concerns we have about the cap on fleet size, and are there some better alternatives that you can think of? And then the last one is caravan size. Same thing, what's your perspective on that? What's the problems? What are the benefits of it, if anything? And what are some better approaches if you have different ideas? So we'll go through those, and along the way, we'll probably you'll have other questions that you want to talk about, and we'll make sure to save time at the end to add to that. And if things come up in our conversation, we'll put them in kind of the parking lot and bring them back at the end. The way we'll do it is that we'll take a question, I'll put it in the chat, and ask you to actually spend a couple of seconds thinking about it and typing in a response. The chats will get kept, and that'll give us a written kind of documentation of your thoughts and your perspectives, make sure that it goes into the record. But then we'll come back, we'll look at your responses, and we'll talk about it and elaborate on this, make sure that it's fully understood by everybody, okay? And then we'll work our way through one after another, and try to be done for sure by 5 at the latest. So does that sound like an okay plan to get through this? I think my job is to just try to get clarity and to keep us moving along. Mary, does that sound okay to you? Other commissioners?
Sounds good. I take it that we want responses, just not from the commission as much as from the business people, because this is for us to learn. And the second question was, do we want people to quickly introduce themselves?
I think that would be great. I'd appreciate it, since I'm the new kid in town and don't really know anybody yet. So
I can call, I see people in the chat room. Jennifer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jennifer Johnson. I am co-founder and co-owner of Epic 4x4 Adventures. We are obviously in the county, right at the corner of 400 East or 4th East and Main Street.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Mark Moore.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Mark Moore. I'm the owner of Ultimate UTV Adventures.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Kent Green.
Okay, now I'm on. Kent Green. My wife and I, Cricket, own and operate Moab Cowboy Off-Road.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Is Jeremy,
Yep.
Are you a business owner?
I am. I own Outlaw Adventures. I'm in the city, but I have been, asked to be on the county meetings, of course, as well, because whatever we're doing in the county is probably going to affect the city. So Jeremy Rowan, I own Outlaw Adventures right on 100 West.
Okay. Moab side.
Yes, this is Jason Menajan. I own Moab Side by Side. This is my wife, Christina. She works here. And we are located at 854 South Main in the county behind Farm and City.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Reed?
Yeah, my name's Reed Pendleton. I have a hunting guide outfitting business that's based out of the county here.
Thank you, Reed. Scott McFarland.
Yeah, I'm Scott McFarland, owner of High Point Hummer and ATV. And I'm at Vanderhall in Provo, which is the factory where Steve Hall, who's with me, has put together the first all-electric side-by-side. And so during this meeting, if it's okay with you, we might walk around a little bit and have our camera on, just kind of show you a little bit of the facility and the capability of this factory to produce electric side-by-sides. Steve, how many square feet do you have in your factory?
About 400,000 square feet up to 1 million expansion. So just to let you guys know that electric UTVs are real and they're coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Jason?
Jason Taylor. I'm with Canyonlands Jeep, so not UTVs, but I'm also on the Travel Council and Moab Motorized Trails Committee. So just checking in. See what's going on.
Thank you, Jason. Is the phone number 201-741-0361 a UTV or ATV business?
This is Cliff Kuntz, and I like to think of myself in three ways today: Executive Director of Ride with Respect, Chair of the Grand County Motorized Trails Committee, and student of Wayne Fryman a mere 17 years ago.
Okay, thank you. Have I missed any of our business people?
Mary, I think Dave with Extreme 4x4 is trying to get on. He's having a little bit of trouble.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Dave. Hi.
I'm here.
Can you turn on your camera by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it easier. Okay, we are, I see there are other people on. We do have Christina Sloan, our county attorney, and Gabriel Wojtek, Commissioner, Sarah Stock, Commissioner, Tricia Dean, Commissioner, myself as a Commissioner. Have I missed any other businesses in Grand County or Moab? Okay, take it away, Wayne.
Mary, Jacques is here as well. Jacques Hadler, Commissioner, and we also have Laurie Simonson, the City Attorney.
Thank you, Christina, for catching my error. Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Scott, take it away.
Well, that was a good test, Jacques. I actually saw you raise your hand there, so I was going to get back to you. So, okay, well, if it's okay with y'all, we'll just. I'm sorry about the y'alls. I just moved here from South Carolina. That's one of the things I brought with me. But we'll just jump right into these questions, and just rest assured, if other things come up, we're going to make sure to get done in time to make sure we can ask other things. Okay. All right. So the first one is about trailering. Okay, and would a trailering shuttle business work? Could it be similar to shuttle businesses for bikes? Do you have some recommendations of how something like that would work? And folks, I'm gonna just take the liberty to mute people when I start hearing the feedback and stuff. So don't take it personal. I'm just gonna do it. So if you could take a second, ponder that a little bit, if it's relative to your way of working, and it may not affect everybody, but that's one of the questions that the commission had and would like to get some feedback on. Okay, so take a second, think about it, and actually type in a response, and then we'll talk about those responses, okay? Kent, you have a question?
Well, my fingers won't let me type in a response, but since this is a Zoom meeting, then I'll just do it this way. Okay. The county's talking about trailering. That's all fine and dandy. But the question I have is, with the outfitters, obviously we're the people that educate those who come into our areas and do tours with us. Gives us an opportunity to explain the do's and the don'ts. I am a tour outfitter. I'm not a rental company, so people drive our rigs on the streets, and so they are street legal. But I do know that trailer parking in certain areas in the county is just almost virtually impossible. There are some, but not enough to go around. But my question is why are outfitters are going to be required to trailer their rigs if they choose to do this versus other people? We're the educational type folks.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Mary, you want to respond to that?
This is not so much requiring people to trailer. We're wondering if there's a possibility, if it might work to have businesses, like the Coyote Shuttle and different businesses that drop UTVs off and then pick them up later so that they would not need to be, the trailers wouldn't need to sit there. We were just wondering if a system similar to what they do with some bicycle shops where they'll drop them off and then pick them up later. We were wondering if that would work for UTVs as well.
Okay, we'll go to Jeremy, then Moab side by side, and then Mark. Okay.
So my only response to that would be most bicycle shuttle companies can get 20 to 25 bicycles on one vehicle to shuttle. We have our 4-door razors are almost 14 feet long. To do 5, which the county and city allow us to do tours behind us with 5 razors currently, I would need a double stack trailer and probably a semi truck and a DOT license to do all of that to shuttle those. That would be cost prohibitive and time prohibitive, and seems like an unnecessary waste of time and money. And that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. Moab side by side.
Yeah, I agree that just exactly what was just said there. And it would just be a nightmare of logistics to try to move machines around. And second of all, these machines are street legal, and they're street legal to access the trails within Utah. And that's why we have street legal access. So we always recommend trailers. We require certain units to be trailered if they're actually going to be going past Arches or past Shell gas station, because for safety reasons.
Okay.
But otherwise in town, that's optional. And I would think it would just be, like, as it was just stated, as Jeremy just stated, a complete nightmare to logistify that.
Okay, thank you. Mark, you had your hand up. And then we'll do Jennifer.
I agree with Jason and Jeremy. I have 9 trailers from 40 foot long down to 14. We have 3 vehicles that can pull a big enough trailer, right, to get to that. So one tour, a Monitor Merrimack or Steel Mellow Masher or Hell's Revenge, if you have to trailer it, there's no way possible we could make a living at it. The cost, the fuel, the trailers, the extra maintenance, that's why we have street legal UTVs in Utah. This is why we do what we do. It's not cost prohibitive at all. We do supply trailers to people who want to go riding farther out so they don't drive the machines on the highway, or we will deliver them. Some days we deliver. This weekend we made 19 deliveries in the last week. And it's taken, the employees are gone from the shop. You know, there's more chance of an accident with all the people coming in and out of Moab pulling a trailer. There's way more chance of having an accident. So but it's not, yeah. If we have to do that, I'll close my business.
Thanks, Mark. Jennifer, I think had her hand up.
I just wanted to support my fellow rental agencies and outfitters and remind same thing. 25 bikes on a van is way different than 5 cars on a trailer. The manpower is humongous to even do that. We trailer about a third of our tours just because we go outside of the Moab area to Monitor Merrimack, to Metal Masher, to Cliffhanger. But those are, you know, it's about a third of our tours, but not as many vehicles, 3 to 4 vehicles, and that in and of itself is huge. So it would be problematic. The other thing I want to say is that people don't want to be in shuttles these days. They prefer to take their own car to the trailhead. So even when I do trailer to those other areas, they are bringing 2 and 3 cars in addition and parking in those locations because they do not want to be in a shuttle. Thank you for letting me give my 2 cents on that matter.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Folks, Chris pointed out to me that if you've tried to put into the chat and it didn't work, I guess you have to direct it to me instead of to everyone, the way that the stuff is set up. So just wondering why no one was put it in there. It's probably you're trying to and it's not even working. So Mary, did you want to say something?
I was going to ask
And then we'll go
Jacques and Gabriel. Anyways, do you feel we have pretty good answer on what our thoughts were answering that question? It sounds like there's logistics that are very different from the logistics of bicycles, is what I'm hearing. Is that what you're hearing, Jacques?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, it's all interesting to me. So you guys shuttle to Cliffhanger? Then you can just give me a thumbs up if you do shuttle to Cliffhanger. That's pretty close by.
No, that was a misspeak. We have never even done a Cliffhanger. It's on our portfolio, but we've not done one. We do go to the Rim. We drive there. I should have said Poison Spider.
Poison Spider, right? Okay. So when you go over the other side of the bridge, you generally try to trailer. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Yeah.
Gabriel?
I guess I would say, just in the interest of sort of focusing on potential incremental improvements, it's to the noise issue, which is exactly what we're focusing on today. I mean, it doesn't come as much of a surprise to me that, if businesses were, if there was a requirement for trailering across the board, it doesn't come as a surprise to me that that's not feasible. But I guess I am curious. I continue to be curious as to how, trailering could be, worked in as, maybe it could be more encouraged, or it could be, it could be an acknowledgement and an opportunity for maybe a slightly larger part of the business than it is currently, just to be able to potentially reduce the amount of machines on the streets, and that could just be a way that their compromise could be reached. So yeah, and not all trailers, but maybe more. I guess is what I think.
Okay, so Dave has been patiently waiting, and then I think Tricia wants to say something, and then we'll go back to Moab side by side and back up to Mark.
Just on the trailer thing, we do not have room at our location to put a trailer that would be able to hold more than 2 machines, it would just be impossible. Like we don't have a place to put a 40-foot trailer on our half-acre lot that's got our tour rigs on it and our business located on it. So it would not be feasible for us to trailer our machines that meet the sound requirement. Is just, and the tow rig that we'd use is louder than our machines.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Tricia.
Hey, and I think this is kind of going into what Gabe was saying. I think we're all really aware that they're street legal, and I respect that. We are under extreme pressure from our community, not a little bit of pressure, but extreme pressure to try to come up with some solutions. And that's why, and this was something I said a long time ago, we need to engage the business owners of this community. You guys know more about these machines than I would ever fathom to try to know. And so we're coming to you to try to get help, to try to get some suggestions. And so hopefully you're taking that as such. You know, we need your guys' recommendations. And I think the trailering idea isn't for you to trailer them. It's so that is it an idea that a company could be started as a shuttle company? That's what Coyote Shuttles is, for example. They don't own a bike company. They're not renting bicycles. They're simply moving those bicycles. And so hopefully you guys understand we're coming to you for recommendations and your ideas to try to help the pressure that we're under, because the communities come to us. This isn't something that we instituted on our own. So that's why we need your guys' help. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tricia. Okay, so up on the hit parade here is Moab side by side, then Kent, Mark, then Kent, then Jennifer. Okay, try to keep track, everybody.
You're right. Okay. I was under the impression that this was about sound and trying to eliminate sound. And I think there are ways that we can eliminate sound if we listen to the business owners on the issues of sound on the streets. And I hope that this meeting is being directed towards that, because I believe that all of the conversation that I have read and done it is a sound issue with the community, not a side-by-side issue. And sound, if we want to talk about ways that we can eliminate sound, we have ways to eliminate issues with sound, but it would require work on everybody's part, not just an owner of a business, but the county, the sheriff, the BLM. Everybody would need to work together to have a better sound problem, that we get rid of some of the sound issues we have here in town due to people and mufflers that are not legal on trails. They are not legal on the streets, but they're running around with them and they're creating a large noise. And that large noise is now being reflected back onto us. And we're following all of the rules and regulations when it comes to sound with these machines, is just like cars are. So my concern is I hope we're not going into another area here and not focusing on what we can do to work the sound noise level down on the streets. Because I agree, there are some ridiculously loud vehicles that don't belong out there, but there's trucks, there's Hondas, there's Subarus. I mean, this is what bothers me so much about this, is that we're not focusing on what we can do. Instead, we're focusing on this broad area around it. But I think if we really work together as a community, we can get the sound levels down everywhere.
Thank you very much for that. I probably should have made it more clear in the very beginning that indeed, this is all in the context of sound. So as we're drawing whatever kinds of connections we're doing here, that's, I believe, Mary, that was the intention that you wanted with this meeting, right? So I should have made that more clear. So yes, does shuttling help relative to sound? And I mean, that's the question. Okay, Mark, I think you're up, and then Kent, then Jennifer.
Okay, just a few things. I mean, Jason is completely right. The problem, it's not the outfitters, it's the people who bring their vehicles here that are souped up or extra loud, which they are against the law on the, you know, everything we have is within the government's range. The other thing about somebody starting a shuttle business, you guys don't understand about how much space you need, what vehicles you need, what the cost is to a vehicle that can do all this, and the trailers. We're talking, that's $100,000 more just in a few trailers and another vehicle. I have to buy 3 more vans and 5 more Power Strokes to pull them. You know, so that's not cost effective. It's not even worth doing the business. And if you shut it down to trailering 3 or 4 machines, we are not getting filthy rich at this business. I mean, we make a living. Some of us do better than others. Some of us have more equipment, but our cost is tremendous. We do this because this is what we love to do. But yeah, the cost that's out of our pocket, most of you guys would ask us why we do it. Well, because we love it, right? Yeah, but it needs to get back to noise. We talked in the last meeting. I asked, people to send in their questions or send in their answers on how to solve this problem. It needs to be done on a website. You need to let the people know coming to Moab. The sheriff and the cops have to be behind it, that you're not going to be allowed on the street in Moab if you don't have a legal exhaust. And it just needs to be DOT approved, okay? That would cut it down. Curfew, we're telling everybody not past 11 to 6, no noise. But this weekend we told them they couldn't go to Monitor and Merrimack. They drove 12 of our machines out there and just destroyed them. So they're they don't listen. They're not going to listen. We can put those rules in effect, and then if they get ticketed, it's just more money for the city or the county to collect. But you got to have officers that are willing to back that up and willing to do that. You know, and then like me, I might be getting rid of 24 hours rentals, so they're all back by 6 anyways, and except for the sunset trip, which in the mid of the summer it's at 7, doesn't leave till 7, is back at 9:30. That's it.
Thanks, Mark. And I want to thank everybody. You've been very concise, and we have a lot of people here, and we want to make sure everybody gets time to talk. So I really appreciate how well you're doing that. Okay, so we have Kent, and then Jennifer, and then Reed, I believe. And just Jeremy, I saw your question on there. We'll come back to that. Okay, thanks.
Okay, you can hear me okay now?
Yes, sir.
One of the things, my biggest concern, I know we're talking about trailering and obviously noise is the issue here. But, you know, one of the members made a comment about the counties wanting to know how the outfitters feel and think about this, but this has been something they've been working on for months. And this is actually really the first time they've ever sat down with the outfitters to actually discuss what's going on. And it's quite disturbing to me because there's a whole lot of other issues that it's not being discussed during this meeting that concerns me also. But me as a business operator in Moab is that the county council has been having legal representation through the county attorney and also the city attorney. We have had no representation at all, not a fair voice at all. And I'm just wondering if the county council, the county attorney and the city attorney are also looking out for our best interests too, because it just seems like it's been a one-sided deal on this operation. And so I'm really concerned if maybe we should get an attorney to negotiate with us. I mean, that seems to be the only way it's going to happen, but we're willing to sit down and work with the county, but this has been going on for months. And now is the first time, and they're at a deadline on April 18th. And so that's not going to give us very much time to work through some of this stuff. And I understand that. And I understand that the county council is getting pressure from the community, but there are a lot of other people also that are concerned over this. But as far as trailering, it's just, I feel like, and I respect this, I feel like the outfitters are being punished for other visitors coming in. We abide by all the rules and regulations. And we try to be the educators, but to hopefully force us to get into the shuttle business, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know if that's what they're asking, but again, and I'll admit, Hell's Revenge and Fins and Things, there's a lot of the outfitters' bread and butter. And that's, go ahead, Mary.
I apologize. This was just probably we're going way deep into this, much deeper than we need to. When we basically want to know if it might work, if it was a possibility, if there was a business, not you doing it, but a business that could trailer machines, say from motels to the trails and then pick them up later. But it doesn't sound like that will work for this type of, there's not a correlation between shuttling bikes and shuttling the UTVs, ATVs. So I think we've answered the question that we came up with. I think we could move on to the next question myself.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Kent, Jennifer, and Reed still had something that I think that they wanted to kick in here, and then let's close it at that point.
I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, you're good? Okay. Jennifer, did you want to add?
Yeah, no, I'm good. My points were made also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Super. Thanks. And Reed.
Yeah, just a perspective on a shuttle service. I actually have a trailer rental business that I started specifically for side-by-sides where I rent the trailers. But I think the logistics of a shuttle company is impossible. For instance, if you had 50 people that needed their machines picked up and you go to meet them at 6 o'clock at Hell's Revenge and they were held up on the trail, they're not going to pick up those clients, which is going to affect the ones that they have to pick up at Fins and Things at 7 o'clock and then the ones out at 7 Mile. And so unless you had a fleet of 50 people that were going around with 26-foot trailers to try to get everybody off the trail, it's just it's literally impossible. Unless you're charging $500 a pickup, which nobody's willing to do that. So there's logistics as far as people getting on and off trails, town traffic, employees, trucks, trailers. It's a logistical nightmare for somebody, which is why I don't do that. I provide trailers for rent, but I would never do a shuttle service.
Okay, thanks. I think we have a resounding kind of not likely on that one. So we're going to just go to the next question and keep moving this along. Commissioners, have in the back of your mind, we had a question come up that wasn't on our agenda about whether or not the reduced speed limit has made any difference so far that you know of. Have you heard less complaints or anything? Are we keeping track of what is working here? So Kent, then Mary. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark, then Mary.
Next.
Yeah.
I stood out there the other night with my sound meter and right there on the corner where the guy stands out there and spits at people and yells profanity at families, and you won't believe what he says. So I sit out there the night with my truck parked across the street. You know the loudest thing that went by? It was a Harley. You know what the second loudest thing went by? Was a gasoline truck pulling a small trailer. So the speed limit's going to change it maybe 1, 2, or 3 decibels. And it's seriously getting, somebody's going to get hurt. It's causing road rage. And we understand what you're trying to do, but the speed limit was the speed limit. We have no problem driving 25. No one does. But you go to 15, then it starts causing mechanical issues for us. We're losing belts and everything else because we're driving right in the middle of between high and low. And it's okay. We'll do whatever. But yeah, I don't think the speed limit has changed anything because this weekend, every loud machine we've seen over the last week was from somebody from out of town. That's what I got to say. And we've been out watching.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, Mary, did you want to pop something in there quick?
Well, I thought the question was, has the commission heard anything as far as the 15 mile an hour speed limit? And we have gotten some emails from citizens saying that they feel like things have quieted down. Do we have data or scientific or anything of that nature? No, at this point we don't. But we have gotten a few emails saying thank you. It appears as though it's helping. That's, have any of the other commissioners heard anything?
Well, this is coming, sorry, Jacques, from, I've had quite a number of citizens complain about what's going on in Spanish Valley Drive. I mean, it was slow anyways, but now you've added 15 miles an hour and 4 side-by-sides. People are not very happy. So that's just citizens that have made general comments to me.
Okay, thanks, Tricia. Okay, so I think Jennifer and then Reed and then Scott.
Just wanted to follow up and make the point. I get that you've gotten a few kudos. Yes, it's helping with the noise, but we are being harassed. I would just like to be on the other side of that. We are being harassed. We are being flipped off. We are being passed. Cars are trying to get in the middle of our tours. It is dangerous for us. And we have to be professionals constantly. And I will tell you that our guests never conclude that we're the ones that are the problem. When we're being flipped off, they never go, oh, Epic, you must be the problem. They have a very poor opinion of the people of Moab when that happens. It doesn't look good for any of us. So I would encourage us to relook at that. It's bad for us out there over it.
Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, I think I have my list a little screwed up. So it's Reed, then Moab, side by side, then Dave. Okay, and then Kent.
I don't have any comments on this.
Okay. Moab side by side does.
It's exactly what Jennifer said. I live on Beeman, just off of Spanish Valley, and I had to follow somebody home going really, really slow the other day, and it was personally frustrating for myself. And I've been flipped off. I've been honked at. I have been nothing but harassed by people, and I have encouraged all my customers, if they have issues with the people, to please send letters to the commission and to the mayor and everybody to let them know that, yes, this is creating a problem in Moab. And we see the negative side of it, which is the customer who comes in and is disgusted, doesn't want to come to Moab, all of the negativity. So I believe the speed limit is not helping. It's hurting the city and the county as a whole, the citizens. We are all paying a price that we should not have to pay.
Okay. Thank you. Dave.
Yeah, from both sides, our U drives that are going up to Hell's Revenge, it's a 2-lane road, it's a double yellow line, and I've been behind in one of our other non-UTV vehicles and watched multiple times people with mountain bikes on the back of their Subaru get super frustrated going 15 miles an hour up the hill, across the double yellow line. There's oncoming traffic, there's almost accidents, and they get ahead of them. And then 100 yards later, they got to stop at the pay booth and wait 20 minutes to get into Sand Flats anyways. Multiple places on Spanish Valley, but closer to the graveyard between that and the bowling alley, double yellow lines, people passing, creating a dangerous situation. And I haven't heard anybody say, man, this is awesome that we're, having to go slow, especially when you need to get to work. I know it's a small valley, it doesn't take long to get across, but when you're doing 15 miles an hour, and it's ridiculous. And it's definitely, it's less safe than it was back when the speed limits were normal. Honestly, this is about sound, and I understand the idea was they go slower, they're quieter, but it takes twice as long to pass by your house, so you're hearing it longer. And honestly, I mean, this whole thing's about sound. Well, we'll get to the next question, but I mean, I have more to say when we have other questions. But my point is that it is, I believe, causing more frustration in the community to have the 2 separate speed limits than it is to have one speed limit. And it's, once again, it's the aftermarket exhaust coming from out of town. That's when they go by your house, they're screaming loud. I hate it. I mean, that's why we leave all of our machines stocked. They're all 92 decibel compliant. We drive some of the quietest ones out there, our Terex 4s. and that's all we use, but it's definitely an issue with the speed limit.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Okay, we're gonna go on to, let's see, Sarah, I guess. Yeah, thanks.
Hi. I just wanted to bring it back. I really appreciate people coming and making time for this. And I really just want to bring it back to the fact that we are being forced to take action on UTV noise in town. And I know Harleys can be louder, I know other trucks can be louder, but our residents have spoken loud and clear, hundreds of letters about the UTV problem specifically. So we're going to take action. And I just want to invite people to really try to be creative, think of solutions. Like right now, what I'm hearing is that trailering is hard, the speed limits don't work. There's always a reason not to enact the idea towards a solution. And that's why we're here to ask you what you think would actually work to solve the UTV noise problem. So thank you.
Okay, Dave, quick reaction to that one.
Quick reaction. This is the solution. Let's start with what Cliff Kuntz has been saying for the last couple of years. Let's enforce a sound ordinance that's got a lower decibel thing. We buy the go back around pipes that are bring the louder machines, make them quieter. That's what the city attorney, she said she's going to do, is just start with the sound ordinance. Let's leave it at that. Telling the companies how many vehicles they're allowed to have. If they're compliant, they only travel in groups of 6 or less. What does it matter how many vehicles we have? Let's start with sound compliance. Let's make that 92 decibel for the side-by-sides, get law enforcement out there checking machines, pulling over out-of-towners with aftermarket exhaust. Let's start with that and drop everything else off the board. The whole limiting the business thing is what's got all of us companies really upset right now. Limiting a business to grow is against our constitutional rights. But if you guys want a solution, start with a sound ordinance, period. Make it the machines be quieter. That's what you guys want, is a sound solution. Do a sound ordinance, make them quieter. Going after the businesses that are already with, we all run stock exhaust. If we have to buy 100, spend thousands of dollars on even quieter exhaust, we'll do that. That's your solution right there. And then go after the out-of-towners with their race pipes that are absolutely illegal on the street, get those guys tickets. And then when they come back to Moab, they're going to throw on their stock pipe, or they're just not going to bring their machine back to Moab, and they're going to come and, I don't rent machines, but they're going to rent from Mark or High Point or somebody else that has sound compliant vehicles. That's what I have to say about that.
Thanks, Dave. So good suggestion. Okay, we've got something on the table. I think, Sarah, that's what you're looking for, is some of those kinds of ideas. Okay. So just in the interest of time here, let's move to this question about, let's see if I got this on here right. The caravan limits, size limits.
On the speed limit. I didn't get to give my opinion on the speed limit.
Oh, sorry, Kent. Get it in there.
To get back to what the commissioner said,
you're breaking up, Kent.
You froze, Kent.
Reason why the upfitters are being, you have the speed limit at 15 and Hell's Revenge at 15 miles an hour for OHV. That is on a double yellow line. That is creating traffic congestion and dangerous situations. And there is no neighborhoods we are affecting up there. So I don't understand where that's coming from. Also, the speed limit restriction on OHVs on Cane Creek.
This is every teacher's nightmare, folks. You're really ready to make your point, and then Zoom decides something different.
We can't hear you, Kent.
Kent, I don't know if you can hear us, but you froze up. And so we left off at Cane Creek. We'll try to come back to that later. Okay, so can we move on to the
We
caravan?
have about 6 or 7 miles of pavement. I guess my screen's froze up, so I guess I'm done.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Ken. Okay, let's see. So here's your next question, folks. You know, what are the primary problems with caravan size limits? And from your perspective, what would be a better approach? Okay. And could you think about that for a second and we'll start going around. Tricia, it sounds like you got to go. You want to say thanks here before you do?
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I think, again, you guys have a way better understanding of these machines and how they work and the noise that they're producing. So I really appreciate you guys coming. It means a lot. Sorry, I have another meeting at 4.
Thanks, Trish. Thank you. Okay, I think Mark, then Dave. And we're talking about caravan size limits.
We don't have a problem with the size. My rules from day one when we opened was no more than 5 vehicles, because that's all one tour guide can keep in line. People back there making sure they stay uptight. So up to five people behind the tour guide, I think that's fine. If you want any more than that, you're just going to have problems. So I don't think there should be a problem with making the size of the tour. If we have more people booked, we put 2 tour guides on and we leave them a couple minutes apart. So I don't have a problem with the size, as long as it stays at 5.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Dave, I think, is next.
Yeah, I work closely with Andrea from Sand Flats and Todd from the BLM on like Cowboy Kent's always done 5 plus a guide, and the BLM, there was no rule up until this year, and the BLM has regulated the tour companies to 1 guide for every 5 machines, and they're not saying we can't go with 2 guides and 10 machines all in one group, but if we ever do any of our groups, we'll never leave the shop with more than a total of 6 machines at once. Just that's the new BLM rule. Goes 5 as a guide for every 5 machines and every 5 followers, and that's a safety thing. So I feel like that's a really safe number, and I get it. If you at a house, you don't want to see 20 machines drive by your house in the caravan. So if our permits allow us to have 6 machines in a group, that's the guide plus 5, then that's if the city is going to or the county is going to follow with a rule of some sort of allowing caravanning, that's the number it should be.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Yep.
I think up next is Kent, then Jennifer.
Yeah, we fought very hard for that with the Bureau of Land Management, and actually there was no fight, and that was a good number we came up with. One of the things I feel that the city and the county is going to face is, even though you're regulating outfitters to do that, you have private individuals who are visiting our city and county, and I just don't see that becoming a enforceable law. I just don't know how you're going to do it. I mean, it's going to be very difficult, to be able to do that. And so that's something that the county needs to think about. I understand it. I get it. But we also have to look at different intersections that we're approaching in the county and city, maybe put in traffic lights and that kind of stuff. So you don't have a machine stopping at every stop sign and then accelerating through to go uphill. If we had I'll just use Mill Creek and the cemetery right there. If we had a street light right there, you could get all 5 of them out of the way. And then of course you have a traffic light, and then vice versa. You understand what I'm saying? But that's some things we need to look at, maybe some roundabouts, stuff like that in different areas. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Ken. Jennifer, I believe you're up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that Epic 4x4 Adventures also can support 5 Behind a Guide. We have always run 5x5 Behind a Guide. It's just safer out on the trail, and we can get behind that one for sure.
Okay, thank you. And Moab side by side, I believe you wanted to comment too.
I just want to add that we're talking about sound, and I believe the commission is looking at caravanning as the outfitters that we have here as being a sound problem, where again, we're getting into the sound, and the sound issues come from 20 people from Texas, 20 people from Salt Lake City, from a church. And I had counted 35 machines waiting to cross the highway at behind the rocks one day, and they were all one church group. And I suggested to them maybe they should separate out a little bit and not be so close together, creating a sound wave. There are rules and regulations that the BLM also makes other people as far as following goes. So as I suggested before, when we talk about this caravanning and sound, we really need to start working with the BLM, the sheriff, and everybody, so that we are, one, promoting the correct thing, and two, that we're enforcing laws that are already on the books to help prevent caravanning on the trail. But as far as in the city, I can't see that. How would you ever enforce a group of people to not go as a group? It's no different than having a group of Miatas or whatever else comes to town, and they go in large groups of 15 to 40 vehicles in a row.
Yep, Harleys, there's just, yeah,
all of it.
A lot of folks travel in big groups. Okay. Mark, you wanted to respond to something?
Yeah, you can't regulate other people, but by regulating or by us doing our part to 5 is going to stop a lot of noise. We're not going to be able to control the other groups, but if everybody sees that we're regulated, we're doing what we've said we'll do, then they need to come off the bandwagon about us. The other thing is we got to use UTV, Utah, all these things about UTV that people go to, and put the education out there. Bud and those guys, I've talked to them. They stop in. They'll help. If you just put it on their website, you're going to get to 140,000 people in one day. If you're coming to Moab, please, to keep Moab, to keep UTV in here, you got to cut the sound down. To keep coming with illegal vehicles, then we're going to lose it all. So either work with us or don't come. I mean, you just got to give them some education. And the fast way to get it out there is Facebook or somebody else's website that can send out that much information instantly. That's what I think.
Thank you, Mark. Jennifer, then Reed.
Yeah, I just wanted to, Jason's 100% right in terms of regulating individual groups, but in the spirit of this conversation and what we can do as outfitters, I support the 5 Behind a Guide as an outfitter. It's, I guess, just my willingness to compromise on that one, even though it's not enforceable on the general public.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. And Reed?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw 2 cents in here from my experience in overnight accommodations. I mean, we do have clubs and groups and reunions, and people come in dozen, 15, 20 at a time. So maybe something the commission could look at with the noise pollution ordinance that they're creating, since we're going to be posting signs apparently in our overnight accommodations. Maybe there's a recommendation in there that we can educate the public, to please limit caravans to, 6 vehicles or less. And then that way we can educate our guests, hey, if we follow this, then Moab will be a place you can continue to come. If we don't, and the noise becomes a problem still, then we're going to have to make more regulation. And so maybe that's a recommendation that we can put on that signage to educate our guests that, hey, we're trying to make a difference here. Please help us out.
Thank you, Reed. All right. Any other thoughts on the caravan size before we move over? Christina?
I just want to update you guys that we're not making these decisions in a bubble, and we're not trying to impose regulations just on you guys. We have been working closely with the BLM. I've been in dozens of meetings with them about these issues. We have formally requested the BLM start reviewing the adequacy of BLM regulations on various areas in Grand County with a specific emphasis on sand flats. Of course, sand flats, it's very expensive and it takes a ton of time for the BLM to do these planning processes. And to do them in large scale, it requires a separate appropriation by the federal government. So just keep in mind, it's no small matter. The BLM office is very supportive. Sand Flats, of course, has a booth and has income that could pay for the planning process. So even though the county has actually said, hey, we want you to look at, it was about 6 areas that we identified to initiate planning. And it's not just about ATVs, it's not just about noise, but that was certainly part of our ask. We expect, based on the meetings we've had with them, that based on funding, that they're going to start analyzing sand flats, overuse, noise, et cetera. So that is in the pipeline.
Okay, thanks, Christina. Reed brought up the overnight use, and we did have a question on, what percent or, what level of visitation actually does rent overnight. Anybody got some feedback for the commission on that question? Moab side by side, please. I'm sorry, what is your names again? Is it Jason?
My name is Jason Manajan. This is my wife, Christina Manajan.
Christina and Jason, thank you. I'm just going by what the label is on your thing.
I lost my train of thought there after you asked that question. Sorry about that.
Percent of people that are renting overnight.
Oh, it's a minimum. We really have frowned from it. We've been learning that it doesn't work overnight. They're multi-days. We don't do 24-hour, and it's less than 20% of our rental fleet. Everything is 9 to 5, basically.
Is that consistent across others of you here? Jacques, you want to comment? And then Ken?
Yeah. I know a lot of people are, one of the main concerns is the nighttime noise. And I'm just hearing from most of you that I'm really curious about how many of you rent overnight and like what percentages and how many of your rental vehicles might be out overnight, but it really sounds like it's a minimum. So I'm assuming most of the sound we get at night isn't a rental.
Yeah, let me just one thing. Our rentals are not allowed on the trail from out on the roads. We don't let them go to grocery shopping and all this other stuff. They all have GPS monitors, and they are not to be driven from 9 until 6 a.m. every night, every day. They are not allowed. And we encourage everybody not, they're used to access the trails, and that's it. And we closely monitor that.
Thank you. Lori.
I just have one question. Do any of you do sunrise tours?
So ours isn't exactly sunrise. We're at 7 a.m. was our earliest tour. So we leave our office at 7 a.m. was the earliest tour that we go out on. And we don't rent. So clarification for Epic, myself, Outlaw, and Kent, we don't rent machines at all. We're only doing guided tours.
Okay. And Kent, you wanted to get a comment?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say what Jeremy said and Jennifer said. As a tour company, and yes, I do sunrise tours. Sometimes we're at 6:30, 7 o'clock to beat the daylight traffic. And it's cooler, especially in the middle of the summer. But some of our sunsets, we don't get back till 10, 10:30, sometimes 11:15, because you have traffic issues, or you just have some people that are really enjoying the backcountry and you're coming back off the trail during that time. So I know during the quiet time, they had it up at state legislation from 11 to 6. I think that's what the county's kind of looking at in that area right there, suggested quiet time, which I think is a great idea.
Okay, thanks, Ken. And Dave, I think you just had another comment. Yeah.
Yeah, we also do not do rentals at all. We only do guided tours, and in the latest months, June and July, the most sunlight hour months, we still don't leave on our tours until I believe 8 a.m. is the absolute earliest that we leave. Right now we're doing 9 a.m. So we're not waking anybody up. And our sunset tours, they end 30 minutes after sunset. So follow the sun, you know, June and July are when we're getting back off the trail right around 10 o'clock, 15 minutes after dark. And that's it. We don't stay out any later than that. So we are in no way causing any kind of nighttime noise at all.
Okay, super. Thanks, Dave. Okay, and Jennifer, I think another comment?
Yeah, just that people have reflected my business properly. We're not a rental agency. No one keeps our machines overnight. Our earliest departure in the heat of the summer is 8 a.m. Right now, we're also leaving at 9. I think we're back. Our latest sunset is back from Poison Spider at like 10 o'clock. So we're off road by then.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we've got one more big question to hit. So we talked about caravan size. Mark, I'll get to you in 2 secs. And just be thinking about this. Mary, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just a message. I got a message from Scott McFarland, and after this question or at some point, he really wants to share his ideas on how to make things quieter with electric side-by-side. So I just want to make sure we fit him in.
Okay, thanks. All right, so where was I there? Let's go to the next one. Okay, so so this one is about fleet size. Okay, so similar to caravan size, it didn't sound like the local outfitting and guide group was a big part of big groups. Talk about fleet size, if that changed at all, how it would affect you. I think Jeremy was first, and then Jason.
So this is the one that probably I have the hardest time wrapping my head around is limiting a business that is already existing in Moab. So, you know, we've worked for years and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to expand our business, and now we're about to be told that that's it, that's all you get, and that doesn't compute with me. Yeah, it doesn't seem right, and it's one that I will end up fighting very hard to change if that goes through in the coming weeks. It will be a very long, hard fight for that one. You can't tell a business that, you know, you've done a great job, you no longer can expand and no longer can do it. Now, if there's caps on it every year, like a percentage-wise growth, I could maybe look into that and feel like that would be more appropriate. But just telling you, nope, you're done with whatever you have right now. And if that's the case, honestly, if that's what they're going to pass on Thursday, I'm going to go put in an order for 10 more machines tomorrow. And, you know, I'll see what I've got. And then my fleet size is up by 10. I mean, that's the kind of games we're going to start playing. To me, that is not a viable solution for this. Again, I could probably get by somewhere with like a percentage cap that we could go up every year, something like that. But it has to be appropriate for the size of Moab. Moab's growing every year. We all know that. We're adding hotels, we're adding restaurants, we're adding more tourists. We have to be able to grow with that. If we can no longer meet the needs of the tourists coming to town, you know, we're all kind of screwed.
Thanks, Jeremy. Jason, and then Mark.
Just as Jeremy said, I would fight to the end. That is ridiculous. That is discriminating, just like sound is discriminating in one particular use. I really feel that this whole subject has created more hate and more issues than it's actually done good. So I'm going to stop with that and say, fleet size is how can you control that? So you can't again, you're picking one particular business. So if we're doing fleet sizes, how about people who have taxi cabs, people who have bicycles, people who, I mean, we are not the only ones renting machines and doing things in Moab. So how can we be the only ones being looked at as a problem with the fleet size when you could get into all the logistics of all the other fleets and their problems, but no one's going there because for some reason we are being picked on by the city council and the county council because we quote unquote are the only noisemakers in Moab.
He's in the
So
same.
fleet size, please. We've got to stop this. This is unconstitutional, and this is not correct. We need to be focusing on the picture, the sound, that's what this is all about. And I feel like all these bumps that we're going through right now is not what we're really should be focusing on. The fleet is not going to help the sound matter. I'm going to stress it one more time. It's that people who come to Moab who have not street legal vehicles, they're not meeting Utah law, they are not meeting BLM requirements. And I'll give you an instance of how they did this in Colorado. So I come from a snowmobile background, did it professionally and worked at a company for a while. And, you know, in Colorado, they started this thing where it was 98 decibels or less for snowmobiling. And the Forest Service and the state of Colorado got together and worked together. And they had sound booths at, say, Vail Pass, Rabbit Ears Pass, all these great snowmobile places that you've heard about. And they completely eliminated the sound issue in Colorado, because now people know when you go to Colorado, you need to have a 98 decibel or less muffler. And people got ticketed, people got fined, people got educated, and it changed the backcountry drastically. It used to be very loud, and now in today's world, you go out there and it's very quiet because these snowmobiles are quiet, just like UTVs are, until you add an illegal muffler that is designed for closed course racing only. And until we focus on the actual noisemakers, we are beating around a tree going, we're just doing merry-go-round. That's what I feel, that's what's going on here. And I really think if you came to us owners maybe months ago who know the industry and actually are educating people and are educated on the sound, because I hate the sound personally myself. I try to keep it as quiet as possible. But we're not focusing on getting the sound levels down, and we need to get law enforcement, the BLM, as I stated. I hear what you said about working with the BLM, but we really need an organized body to get people at the trailheads sound checked, and the BLM has the right to do that because you're on BLM property. And second of all, one more point is that the muffler in the state of Utah, when you get your machine safety inspected, you must have a stock muffler to meet the requirements to register and title a UTV, ATV, motorcycle in the state of Utah. So again, we have ways to eliminate a lot of this quote unquote noise that's making some citizens sick or issues. I just believe we can work together and get this taken care of.
Thanks, Jason. Mark, and then Jennifer, then Dave.
First thing is limited the size of my company. That's none of your business. When the city called around and wanted to know how many machines we have, mine changes throughout the season. It depends on when we buy new ones, when we sell old ones, whatever. But you're not going to limit the size of my business. That's not going to happen. That's my God-given right as an American. And when we got a business license, there was no regulation on that. So that's the same what I got to say about that. We also people need to know, the commissioners need to know that to let the public know they're complaining, that you're going to have a mass exodus at the end of the night. You're going to have Dave's machines, you're going to have my machines. So you're going to have more people coming off, just like when they're going up. Going up is a little spread out. Coming down is a lot closer because we're all trying to get back so it's not too dark and we have a problem with our customers. So they need to know that there's going to be around 9:30 to 9:45 in the summertime. And then now it's within, like now we're leaving at 6 because it's dark. We're back by 8:30. So there's going to be certain times of the night there's going to be more machines that are sound legal because they're going to be together coming off, right? And then the other thing is I keep hearing the numbers of people who are against this. Where's the number of the people who are for it? Because I don't know. I don't have a person I know that they've never complained about the sound. We've been asking around. So you always talk about who's against it. Well, how is that fair to us? Who's for it? That's all I got to say.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Jennifer, I think you're next, and then Dave.
I just want to also make the point that you have no right to constrain my business and limit my fleet at all. Not only will it be met with legal challenge, we will band together. I haven't spoken with everyone on this call, but we will pool our resources and we will fight that. And you will be met with legal challenge on that. You absolutely have no right to do that. I guess I don't know what more to say about that, but I also do want to make the point that the council has such disdain for these machines that they have completely lost sight of the fact that there are people with other opinions, like Mark was saying. There are people that enjoy this activity, that the sound is music to their ears, the same point I made last time. You serve the entire constituency, and that means you serve me. And instead of weaponizing Title V against us, what you should be doing is finding ways to help keep our businesses viable. Make different routes up into that area that aren't in neighborhoods. Something. You have been given lots of ideas, and all we do is we keep getting together and talking about ideas. But when you send out an email saying you want to meet and you have a mediator to keep it respectful, we have been nothing but respectful to this process. And then that's how you present this meeting to us. We've been very respectful to this process, so I was disappointed that it came across that way. But you put us with our backs against the wall when you talk about limiting fleet size. We see nothing else. You've heard us all. We're happy with caravan size. We'll buy equipment for our machines to make them quieter. We're willing to do all that, but as soon as you start talking about limiting our fleets, when there are agencies in the city with hundreds. There's a brand new company in San Juan County that will be running the roads with more machines right now today than the ones you're saying are going to be in your caps. That is when we will come out swinging. And I know that probably came across harsh, but we will not tolerate it, and we will pull our resources to fight that.
Thanks, Jennifer, and really thanks all of you. I mean, these are not easy things, and you've been extremely professional today. So I really appreciate that. Dave, you're up.
So
and then
of course
Ken.
of course I agree what everybody else is saying, that I think the biggest concern with all the companies right now, the number one thing that we're most irritated with is you guys trying to limit our business and our fleet size. If our vehicles are sound compliant, we travel in groups of 6 or less. What does it matter how many vehicles we have? The best thing you guys can do, I don't have all the paperwork in front of me, but being at the Motorized Trails Committee meetings of Grand County, I've got to look at, Christina was there, Lori's been there talking with us, and I've looked at the writing, and Christina keeps on going through and editing it and changing it, and I see these red lines where they draw red lines through it. You guys need to draw a red line right through that limit, the vehicle limit thing, and just take it out. If you guys take that out, you guys won't have nearly the fight on your hands that's going to be coming if you guys try to limit our business. It's super simple. Take out the fleet size cap. You guys have already capped the amount of businesses up to 5, which is technically there's 6 in the county if you include Cliffhanger. I saw the paperwork, it said there was 5 businesses. There's 6. You got Jason, Rory, Paxman, Moab Scenic Adventures, Extreme 4x4 Tours, Cliffhanger. Did I say that one? Anyways, there's 6. I counted them earlier. There's Epic, Cliffhanger.
Well, Dave, I thought Moab Scenic Adventures was in the city, so that's the one that's not on the list.
Moab Scenic Adventures is in Grand County.
Okay, I'll work with our clerk's office on that.
Okay, yeah, they're both Extreme 4x4 Tours and Moab Scenic Adventures are both at the same address.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Ken.
Yeah, I'm totally against limiting the size of our fleets. You know, we should have that opportunity to expand. You know, like we talked before, you know, if we're going to do, you know, a guide plus 5 machines, you know, we're not going to run 10, 20, 30 machines in a row. We're going to be very respectful of the neighborhoods, and we have been very respectful to the neighborhoods. Outfitters don't drive in the neighborhoods. They take the least resistant route that they can. You know, in this fleet size, I think, and I could be wrong, and please correct me, Christina, if I'm wrong, that you guys are going to try and make us go to electric vehicles. We can't sell our vehicles unless they meet noise compliance.
Nope, nope, that's wrong, completely wrong.
Okay,
The provision as written only allows an ATV sales dealer to have electric models. By the way, that was the Planning Commission. The information I've gotten from the County Commission is interested in more expanded definition possibly, and that there's an express allowance for all of you companies to sell ATVs to maintain your fleet. So there's no issue there.
Okay, so we're not going to be required to go and buy an electric side-by-side.
Not under any pending ordinance or anything that's been discussed, no.
Okay, because I can't afford all them. I need electric side-by-side. Okay, thanks for clarifying that for me. I really appreciate that. But I just letting you know, I am against capping off businesses in town. I mean, it's just not right. It's you know, because other companies are allowed to expand, and so go ahead. Go ahead, Christina.
Well, I'd like to just weigh in, and I said this at the last chamber meeting, that I have not supported the fleet caps. I think that as a first step, we need to focus on noise, and that's going too far. That's my personal opinion, and I'm not a decision maker. So, but I did pull that out of the version that went to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission felt very strongly about adding it back in, which is why it's in the version that the Commission's considering this week. And I do know there's a couple, at least 2 commissioners, I'd say, that feel passionately about it. And I'd say the other 5, I don't have a sense of how they feel about that fleet limit. I understand why that makes you guys defensive and feel under attack. I do just want to say legally, the county has very, very, very broad authority to regulate business activity in the county. And we have limited the ability of overnight accommodations to 1, build anything new, 2, redevelop, and 3, expand. Now, just like with the overnight accommodations ordinance, that may change in the future. It might change in 1 year. It might be 5 years. It might be 10 years. These ordinances are not set in stone. They change. So again, I don't recommend a fleet cap, but it is legal. I hear the legal challenge. That doesn't surprise me. But you guys aren't the only business that the county has at least proposed regulating that way. Our overnight accommodations are under the same paradigm.
But it feels like we're the only business being targeted at the time.
Okay. Thanks, Kat, and thank you for clarifying that, Christina. Let me see. Jeremy, I think, wanted to comment. No? Previous hand up. Okay. Irie, anybody else I got out there to keep track of?
I'd like to say something if I can.
Yeah, if you can hang tight for just a second. So Sarah just had her hand up, and then we'll come to you. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, sir, but iPhone is all I have.
That's Scott.
Okay, Scott. Okay, Sarah.
It was surprising to me to learn from all of you that most of your fleets, or that all of your fleets who are attending here, are actually exclusively for guided tours. I feel like that is an important point. And I don't know, I am curious to explore this idea of potentially limiting the fleet size of rentals that are taken out without guides while working on this issue with you all who have all of these guided tours. I don't know. So I'm open to that. I don't know if it's legal or the enforcement of it. I think that there's big complicated things here that we need to dive into, but I just want to say that I'm hearing you and I understand the benefit that a guided tour has over just somebody who rents a vehicle and drives it off the lot and doesn't bring it back, and they're teenagers zipping around the neighborhood. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
So wait a second there. The teenager driving, and we're back again to law enforcement. That would be that responsibility. Teenagers are not driving these machines around. Come on.
Okay.
Well, on that point, I also would like to say I've spent, let's see, 7 months and thousands of hours of my time with law enforcement, bringing them around. And I do think we've had stepped up enforcement this week. The sheriff's office, there's capacity issues for sure, especially with Moab City Police right now. But you know, I've really been working with them on what this speed or this noise enforcement looks like roadside. It doesn't have to be a resource suck, because that is, you know, that's their defense every time. It doesn't need to be that way. We're working with the city to create a multi-agency team. You only need 2 officers, and you do have to have 2 officers to do noise enforcement because of safety concerns. But we could have a city officer and a sheriff deputy working together. You know, 1 weekend day a month, 1 weekend day a week, or maybe 2 a month, I think would, you know, dramatically improve noise. And it's certainly, you know, that the component of law enforcement is critical here. And the county has been working really hard. Our sheriff is an elected official, and the commission does not have authority over him. And one thing, we're getting hundreds and hundreds of emails on a weekly basis opposing noise, almost all from locals. And lots of them bring up enforcement. And I make a point to spend the time to respond to every single one of those comments that brings up enforcement, to make the point that the sheriff is elected official. He's doing whatever he wants to do, and please contact the sheriff and talk about noise. And the sheriff has now been inundated with these same comments. And I do think it's making a difference. Over Easter Jeep Safari, in about a 7-day weekend, they did issue 24 citations and warnings to ATV drivers. That was all in licensing and registration issues. It was about 50-50 citations and warnings. But, you know, I think they're finally there. And I do expect noise enforcement. And again, that's one reason why I think that's where we focus our first step and see what changes we see. But I think law enforcement's there.
We support that. Law enforcement, get after them. That's what we want.
Okay, thank you. Scott, why don't we, get you might have a comment just on this, but then this would be a chance for you to talk about the ATV.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know for sure, but you know, I probably have one of the larger fleets in town, and I just want to voice my opinion that I also do not approve of limiting fleet sizes. That's just, I don't know, it's a step too far. I hope you guys could see as I walked around the factory here a little bit, what goes on here, the scale and the capability that we have to produce and manufacture electric side-by-sides. Moab's got a great opportunity to embrace that, grab a hold of that, and become, you know, the leader in the country of a community that wants a safe environment, a sustainable environment, a quiet environment, and a great place to visit. We want to grab that and run with that as hard and fast as we can. That's the kind of community that Moab is. We love off-roading. We're known for off-roading. We're epic. And it's a real privilege that we have to be able to go into the backcountry and explore our beautiful area that we have. We want to keep that. We want to maintain that. And we want to promote best practice uses from everyone that travels into the backcountry and around town. So how do we do that? We embrace new technology. We embrace technology that helps us to do that. And I hope you guys could see just kind of the stuff that I was showing you glimpses of, but it's really, really close. It's really close to becoming a reality and an attainable reality. These price points aren't going to be as astronomical as you think they're going to be. A lot of work has gone into that to keep the price points affordable. So don't be afraid of positive change. Instead, let's grab a hold of it. Let's be the leader in the country and the leader in the world for electric off-road vehicles. I would support or encourage anybody to come to me, give me a call, share with me how we can do that. That's what we're about. That's who Moab is. Moab is not a town of naysayers and complainers and people that can't solve a problem. They can only shut things down. That's not Moab. That's not who we are. We're problem solvers. We're innovative. We create ways to keep a safe environment and exist in it at the same time. That's who we are. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Jeremy.
So, Scott, I I think it's great if we can get affordable electric vehicles. I'd probably be the first one to sign up. But full disclosure, can you explain to us what your involvement in that company is? And my understanding is that you're a dealer for them as well right now. So we would all be buying through you. Is that correct?
Yeah, you would all have to purchase directly through me. You wouldn't even be able to buy from a different dealer, Jeremy. No, I'm kidding you. Yes, I am a dealer. I'm a new car dealer in Moab. That dealership has existed now for a few years, and it's one dealer. But I'll introduce you to the man right here. There you go,
Steve Hall. And you can buy from any dealer you want. He has a protected area around Moab, but you could buy from any dealer you want. So we see as an opportunity all over the place to solve a lot of problems not just in off-road, but in campus use. There's military applications also, and it solves the emission problem and the noise problem. As far as black marks on your rocks out there, we're working on that. That's the last thing to do. But if we get rid of the emissions and we get rid of the noise, I don't think there's much to complain about after that.
So the goal right now is to build a unit that would actually be acceptable and preferred inside the national parks over a normal automobile. It'll be better than a normal automobile that's going through the national parks now. So kind of lofty goals, but all attainable.
What I know that I already looked at the website. There's no prices listed. Is there a price range that you're shooting for?
The one we're coming out with the Navarro is going to start in the mid 30s. Now these are a little different because they have HVAC, they have AC and heat, and they're also backup storage. So there's a lot of different features other than just like a regular 1000R or turbo. And then a utility one will follow that and that will be in the low 20s. And that will be electric, full electric, quiet. It just won't be 35-inch tires and long travel. It'll be somewhere around 30-inch tires with probably 14 inches of travel. But that comes out a year from now. That'll be on the same platform, same technology.
So same 200-mile range?
You would have to pay for the 200-mile range at that. That would be probably a 20 kilowatt, which would get you about 80 miles. Then there would be a 40 kilowatt that would be more. And then the 60 kilowatt is the big one. That's the 200 plus mile, which is twice what a UTV is currently right now.
And how long to charge, say, the mid-range one?
Mid-range from 10% to 90% is roughly 12 to 15 minutes. Full charge will take you 30 minutes, and that is on a DC fast charge, similar to Tesla.
Thank you very much for the information. I would love more information on them, and I can't wait for them to come out. And Scott, I'm not trying to pick on you. I just wanted everybody to know that you are a dealer, and you do have a vested interest in having these in town, just like the rest of us do for noise. So I think it's great. I'd like to know more about them and even test one out when you guys have a test vehicle available.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting, Jeremy.
Thanks, Scott and Jeremy. So Dave and then Lori. You waving off, Dave?
I was asked. I had a few questions for Scott, but I think Jeremy asked them, and I guess this is kind of off the noise subject, but since we're talking about it, how would they set up charging stations?
Yeah, so there's definitely going to be technical problems that have to get sorted out to make something like that work.
Well, currently you could charge on 110 or 220, and that would be like at a home, you could do a 6 kilowatt charger. So that would take you 8 to 10 hours to charge it. So you could charge it anywhere. You don't have to do it on a supercharger. So overnight would easily get you 200 miles.
So how much energy does that take on the environment?
Well, 1 kilowatt is about 8 cents cost-wise. And as far as environment-wise, you're still about 50% better full cycle emissions than gasoline. including everything, even transporting the barrel, refining it, you're still 50% better, even if you burn coal
Okay, and this
to
is lithium?
generate the electricity.
This is lithium batteries?
Yeah, lithium ion batteries.
Okay, and we all know lithium is mined by strip mining. My question is, are you gonna have a model around the 15.5 area? Because that's what I can buy machines for.
No, we won't.
Okay.
Thank you. Lori?
I just had one question for a sound comparison. Do you have a decibel rating for the electric vehicles, either a pass by 25-foot or 50-foot test or a 20-inch tailpipe test, or the ones that we've been using as sort of our thresholds?
Are you asking on the electric only?
Correct.
Yeah, electric would be less than 20 decibels. I mean, it's like, you can't even hear it. 50 feet away, you're not gonna hear it go by at 25 miles per hour. So it's very similar. When you hear a Tesla go by, you're hearing speakers. You're just hearing road noise, like tire noise and other things. In parking lots, we have sound, so you know it's there. So it's usually like a 20, 25 decibel hum, similar to Teslas. So you won't be able to hear anything. Like if you're inside your house and it goes by at 25 miles per hour, you might hear a little tire noise. You will not hear anything from the powertrain.
I think that's exactly the.
Thanks, Lori. And,
So the same as just.
okay, so we've got through, I think, the set of questions we set out to, and let me see if I can recap what I think I heard. One is that people are wholly recognizing sound is a big issue. We got to figure out how to deal with it, and that there seemed to be pretty broad support for a number of ways to do that, which come down to trying to enforce the ordinances that we have to work on the issue of sound. Within that, the perspective of this group is that the organized outfitters here, the locals, are pretty much compliant with the decibel levels, and that the bigger culprit are the out-of-towners that are coming here that have modified things with aftermarket kind of exhausts and maybe coming in bigger groups and doing that sort of thing. In terms of trailering, it's not a very viable option from your perspective. There's just logistical problems from top to bottom, and it's going to be really expensive to try to pull off. Somebody might want to try a standalone business to do that, but none of you would jump into that as business people. The idea of caravan size, you're willing to work with that, you already do, and that you would even be supportive of working with the BLM and other actors around here to see that kind of enforced throughout the public lands around here. Fleet size is a non-starter with this group in terms of the way it's going to affect your business and your philosophy of life. And that issue, if it's pursued, is the one where it's certainly going to create a lot of conflict. And then your perspective on the speed limit, as okay, here's something that was tried, that there's a lot of unintended consequences of that, and that those who are actually following the rules and doing it, which is largely your groups, are paying the price for that because you're viewed as a problem or a different kind of problem. And it's hard to tell whether any of those things are actually reducing sound levels enough that it's making a big difference. Okay. Does that sound fair in terms of what you were trying to convey here to the commission today?
This is Cliff. Can I add something?
Sure, Cliff.
Okay.
And then
so
Mark and then Jennifer. Okay.
a few people expressed support for the 92 decibel standard at 20 inches and half throttle, which is called J1287. And I'm glad to hear that. And I hope others would also express support for requiring education. It's the kind of thing that a lot of businesses are already doing. And in fact, we benefit greatly from the outreach that businesses do beyond what I, with Ride with Respect, or even the BLM can do when they're working out on the trail. But, you know, it gets busy in the season. And so that mandatory education through basic videos could even be a quiz, you know, would just be a way of ensuring that every business is doing it every day. And it would be particularly useful as new rules come into play, like the 92 decibel standard. You know, you could help explain it and politely let people know that it will start to be enforced. But I think that with those two major things, the sound standard and the required education, you can then implement and evaluate and see if there's really a need for these other caps like caravans, etc. Thank you.
Thanks, Clint. Mark, I think you had your hand up first, and then Mary and Kent. I see you too.
Just like I said in the last Zoom meeting, still talking about everything. Start right now about getting it out there that the sound is going to be enforced in Moab. Get it out to the companies that can get it out there faster. Do something. We just keep talking about it, and nothing's coming about. It just keeps meeting after meeting after meeting. If we all agree the sound's an issue, then you guys can do something in a couple days and get it up. We can get it out to Bud. We can get it out to UTV Utah, 4x4s, whatever. So this is going to be This is starting to be enforced in Moab. Put it out there. It's not going to hurt us because we're decibels. It might hurt the hotels and the restaurants a little bit, but I don't know. They could start complaining. But yeah, let's get some information out there so they just keep talking about it.
Thanks, Mark. Mary?
Yes, thank you. As far as the enforcement of the noise ordinance is much more complicated than any of us recognized when we first started this. We have been working on this for a long time, and we are ready to be able to do it, but it wasn't something that could be put up overnight. For instance, it's not a primary reason that you can pull somebody over. It can only be a secondary reason. So it's much more difficult. Christina can go into the difficulties of enforcing a noise ordinance, why it's been so long in coming, but it is coming. But it hasn't been because we've been ignoring it. There's been a whole process we've had to go through to be able to do it. The 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, I want you to recognize that this was pushed on us. I had a senator talk to me for over 15-20 minutes saying that we had to enforce a speed limit and we had to enforce noise ordinances before they would even consider doing anything. So a lot of the speed limit didn't come so much from us, but from the state, that this was something we had to do in order to justify asking for anything else. And I do want to thank everyone for coming here. The reason for a facilitator was a lot to do with to help keep us on track. And so if it came across as because I didn't respect or think that people could be professional, I apologize. I just know that when I'm in meetings and you have someone managing it and running it, you can get much more done effectively if you have a professional do it as opposed to someone else. And that I really appreciate everyone who has participated in this today. Thank you.
Kent, I'm sorry. Yeah, Kent and then Jennifer.
Okay, thank you so much. I just appreciate the time here. And I think in the federal standards, it's at 98 decimal. I could be wrong on that. I know that like Glen Canyon National Recreation requires that on a national level. So that's something you might want to look into. But I think the county has applied for the RTP money. Am I right, Mary? Applied for that?
We have.
Okay, so is that money going to be used to explore different areas to create new routes for OHV users, so that we can maybe disperse the vehicles out in different areas like we suggested before? I really think we ought to explore those. I know there's been some ideas that's been shouted out there, like the Pipeline Trail, and maybe go over here by Ravens or behind Tagalong or something like that, and maybe to see if we can alleviate some of that traffic out of the neighborhoods. I'm hoping that that money will be used for that kind of stuff, because I think those fees come from registration fees off of OHV users. Am I right on that? Somebody?
Can you speak to that, Christina? I'm not sure. I don't have the answers in front of me.
I would ask Cliff or Chris to speak to what we're going to use the money for, but yes, it is funded by ATV registrations.
Yeah.
But that's great.
This is Cliff. So at the state level, the RTP funds are divided in half. So you apply for a motorized grant or a non-motorized grant. And the recent county application is a non-motorized grant, so it goes to non-motorized projects. However, there are motorized grants available, not just from RTP, but even more so at the state-funded level, which is called Fiscal Incentive Grant, or FIG. And yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Kent, because RTP and especially FIG are a huge resource for us to do trail planning, maintenance, and education.
All right. Thanks, Kent. Jennifer, did you still want to make a comment?
Only to Mary. I appreciate what you said, because I am the one that brought up the email suggesting that a facilitator was to keep it respectful. So I appreciate what you said. I agree a facilitator is necessary in this kind of forum. That part just could have been left off the email. Thank you, though.
All right. The other thing I didn't comment in that summary is that, there is potential for technology that's coming along that will, it may not be this year, it may not be next year, but if you're thinking in a 5 or a 10-year kind of time horizon, it will dramatically be capable of changing, the whole EV thing. I've often talked about the experience with snowmobiles up at Yellowstone. And Jason, you may be familiar with the whole epic saga of winter use management up there. 15 years of legal battles, 2 different federal judges fighting with each other, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and a lot of wasted kind of time and effort. What they ultimately ended up doing was enforcing 4-stroke engines on the snowmobiles, and that they had to be guided. And those engines, I swear that they could drive by you and you wouldn't hear them, certainly on the flat areas up there compared to, it made a huge difference, and people liked it. It wasn't like, oh, I've had to compromise some incredible part of my experience to go on a quieter machine. So there is going to be that possibility out there. So thinking about, well, what are the net noise effects and how do we really best reduce those over time, might be just kind of a good kernel for thought. Okay.
Or you might tell them that Yellowstone also allows street legal side-by-sides. That just recently happened not too long ago. And I see your smile on your face because I'm right. But
actually, I hadn't heard that, but
oh yeah,
it doesn't
do
surprise
that.
me.
I'm not saying that's what we need to do, but just so you know, they do allow street legal side-by-sides in Yellowstone National Park now.
Yeah, well, who knows? It's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe You know, the whole thing at Yellowstone started in the 80s when West Yellowstone decided they were going to be the snowmobile capital of the world. And that became their tagline, their slogan. They were incredibly successful. And the escalating use levels in the winter happened so fast that nobody knew how to react to it. And I watched the rhetoric here in Moab, and it almost looks identical. So if Moab wanted to be the EV capital of the world, and started planning toward that, I have no doubt that it would be a Field of Dreams thing. If you built it, they would come. And there's going to be a lot of folks that are looking for that kind of experience. Drive your Tesla here, rent your electric side by side. It might seem financially infeasible now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, who knows? Mark.
I just want to know, she talked about senator told her that she needed to get the speed limit down in the Sound. Which senator? Was it any of the people that was on our side, or it was just the one they hired? I mean, she made it sound like he forced her to put a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit up.
I was told by Senator Bramble that we needed to enforce our noise ordinance, and we needed to reduce our speed before we ever came back to the legislators again.
Don't you have to meet to change the speed limit? You just can't go change the speed limit. So we don't want to be difficult. We're trying to help it. You just went and changed the speed limit. I mean, you changed the speed limit for everybody.
An open and public meeting.
Okay, that's fine. But we just wanted to know which congressman told you.
Senator Bramble.
I don't know if any of the congressmen that I talked to said that.
It was a senator.
Yeah.
Plus, Mark, there were numerous public meetings at the Utah legislature this year on the city's curfew bill, and there were many, I mean, maybe a dozen who said the exact same thing. They gave really clear directives to the city and to the county that they want us to use every tool that we have, and that includes the speed limit, and that certainly includes the noise ordinance.
And Christina,
I also want to make the point where I have the floor. There is no federal regulation for ATVs on noise. FYI, none. There is for motorcycles.
So where does Glen Canyon Recreation get it? Because they say they meet federal standards.
I can't opine without seeing exactly what you're looking at, Kent. So feel free to email that to me.
Okay,
but
I will.
Certainly different recreation areas can also establish their own regulations. That doesn't make it a federal regulation.
This is a
Yeah,
federal
I was
standard
gonna tell you that the National Park Service, their decibel rating is 60 dBA at 50 feet.
I was just going off of Glen
motor
Canyon.
vehicles.
I think they establish a lot of those things within individual planning processes. So, you know, the Four Strokes at Yellowstone had their own process, and on other places.
All I want to say is just should have got us involved in the beginning. Just let us help. This is what we do. Please let us help through the whole process. Keep us informed. I mean, it was kind of like all of a sudden we just seen signs go up, you know. Just keep us informed and let us help you. You let us help you. It's going to be a lot better.
Well, speaking on that, Mark, sorry, I think this is the last thing I need to say. And I made this point on the Friday meeting with the chamber, but I know there are a few more county businesses on this meeting. The sheriff's office is planning a voluntary testing day up at Sand Flats for ATVs. The idea is, and we're still working with Sand Flats, who I know is very concerned about doing this on a busy weekend. The concept is the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, which is the 29th, be a voluntary event. You'd get into Sand Flats for free if you agree to test your ATV. This would obviously be directed at the public and, you know, a good educational moment. And it would be led by the sheriff's office, but we're hoping to get a lot of folks helping us, including our local ATV businesses. So we'll be in touch with you guys about that. It looks like the police department will not have the capacity to help us, which makes even more important to partner with our local businesses. But for those of you who know Steve, he certainly cares a lot about that. So we'll be in touch with you. We want to make it an inclusive good feels. Let's test your ATV and see where you land.
What I wanted to say was, why can't, before this big weekend happens, come down to some of the shops, let us do this, because Can-Ams are louder, some of the machines are louder than others. So that way you have a basis of what you're basing it off of what the standard in Moab is this is what the standard. Let's do
We
some
have done
testing.
that, Mark. Cliff assisted us and Hummer assisted us, Scott McFarland, and we tested about 8 machines between 2 days. And so I'm sorry we didn't get around to every ATV business. And Chris and I actually, once we got our type 1 law enforcement grade meters, intended to go back and reach out to more county businesses to do that. And the workloads are just overwhelming, guys. We just haven't been able
We know we're overloaded too.
So Christina, you might want to iterate that this is a voluntary, you're not going to be receiving any citations if you don't meet the standard.
For sure, we will. And also the other thing is the sheriff and I both feel very passionately that year 1 after passing this noise ordinance will be used for education only. So warnings will be given, no citations for an entire year.
I just wanted to clarify that. So
that's a good idea.
Okay, gang, we're at the end of the 2 hours that we asked you for. So any other burning issues you want to get out there quick before we call it a day?
I guess I was just kind of hoping to make one point back on the technology of electric side-by-sides. If we really want it to be that community, when the technology gets here, it's overwhelmingly costly for many of us to consider at this point, but maybe with some advanced planning, there could be some grant programs to convert your fleet, or we could be ahead of the curve on something like that. Just wanted to toss that idea out there, even though we talked about that several minutes ago now.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was one of my thoughts too, was could we do something to find a way to actually help people? So I think we should look into that. I think that should be studied. And I know the commission really appreciates everybody spending this time. And I hope this is the beginning of more opportunities for people of different sides and points of views coming together and talking. So thank you. Does any of the other commissioners want to say anything?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I'm going to just echo what Mary said. I appreciate you guys coming, and it's been very informative for me going into this week of making some decisions. So appreciate your time.
Yeah, one quick thing to say. Is that okay?
Yeah, Dave, go for it.
Yeah, I really encourage whoever of you guys that talk to the planning commission, which is different than the county commission, I guess, to really have them reconsider the fleet size cap, because I think that's going to be your biggest fight. I really think that has nothing to do with the noise. So just want to reiterate that.
I would really encourage the planning commission to get with UTV owners and things like that and get their perspective of it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of registered UTV owners that's easily trackable in this county. And I know a lot of them have spoke up, but it seems like no one talks about them speaking up. It's just the others that are complaining about noise. And it seems the people that are complaining about noise seems to be the same bunch every time.
So if I could say, and thank you everyone for your participation. It has been very valuable. And just on that last point, let's just be really mindful of that we're all sharing this community together. And just as I'm sitting here and really actively listening and really absorbing everything and understanding, what y'all's issues with these potential actions. And I'm not minimizing the feelings that you're having about these potential actions. It's really important that we're not minimizing residents who are having issues with noise. It's so critical that we don't minimize the really hard time that people are having in this community. And it goes across all types of cultures and all different types of people in our community. So let's just make sure to be nice to each other.
Well, we are. Just make sure that you let people know that we do care and we're not the bad guy, because we do care about our community, because we do live here.
Thank you, Kent.
All right, I think that's a great note to conclude on. So Everybody, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
Mary,
Wayne, too.
it's a pleasure. Nice to meet y'all. I hope I get to go for a ride with you someday.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mary, if you can hang on for a second after folks.
Yes, I would like to. And thank you very much once again. Thank you, Lori, for participating, and everyone that listened. Thank you very much. Okay. So the meeting is closed.
So have we got fewer than 4 commissioners on right now?
I don't think we do. Who's still on?
I just want to make sure.